It's Schuylkill Navy H.P.C, United States of America, up against Edinburgh University and, Edinburgh University and Nottingham Rowing Club. And this is the British under-23 men's quadruple scull.
Away they go. Really blistering start from both crews and an explosion of power. My goodness, the rating, the under-23 British crew on the right-hand side, it looks incredibly high as they go off the start, getting the boat moving incredibly fast and smoothly away. Less steering issues generally in these quads, as each oarsman's got two blades and the opportunity therefore to kind of make steering corrections themselves as well as having a steersman. But the British under-23 crew, as we look at them closest to the camera here, you know, really strong crew. Three of them are reigning under-23 world champions in this boat class, and they're coached by Kieran Clark from Tideway Sculler School, who's coached last year world champions victory in this boat class and the previous year. So some real experience on this very strong under-23 quad.
And you look how aggressive they are into the second half of that stroke. As the legs are coming down, they're really wrenching those bodies backwards and levering the boat every stroke.
Yeah, that's Samuel Mayo in the stroke seat. He's got a very strong start, hasn't he? As you said, there's a piston-like leg movement, but then you can see his body opening up really strongly. Not quite ripping the oars through, but huge acceleration of the last part of the stroke. You can almost see him shoveling the boat away into the distance, and that sets up a very nice rhythm for the big men in the middle of this boat here as well. So a blistering pace of stars as you see the bowman of the Navy crew, William Bernstein, 25 years old, look over his shoulder, just see how far ahead they've got already. They've got their work to do in the Navy crew, so at this point, what do? You've got to get into your rhythm, you've got to row your own pace.
Yeah, and look, they're moving their boat quite nicely in the Navy crew. You can see that they just don't have that same sort of acceleration into the second half of the stroke. They're really punching along onto the next stroke. And probably just not getting that same power on the blades that the British crew is. But, I mean, you're comparing a national team crew, albeit under 23, against a club crew. So it's always going to be a tough gig.
Yeah, and I think, as we mentioned, you know, these athletes have had a good amount of time together as well, and I think particularly in a quad, which is so much about synchronization and moving the boat together, and you see, you know, the sticks, there are so many of them, the oars, there are so many of them, you see any timing issues very easily. So I think there's not only being the national squad, but also having three of the four of them rowed together last year to such success, gold medalists in the under-23 World Championships. That's a huge task. And actually, you've got to say the Navy are responding very well to this challenge. They're rowing their own races, they said, keeping their heads in the boat nicely and just pushing on. And they've got a slightly contrasting style, a little bit brisker, I'd say, a little bit livelier. And they probably have to do that as being a lighter weight crew. And that's moving the boat quite effectively for them.
Yeah, look, they're doing a great job. William Bernstein in the bow seat there. Took a little look over his shoulder to the left, then a little look over the right, just getting stock of where he is. Finn Putnam in the 2 seat, Christopher Shirley in 3, and Charles Anderson in the stroke seat. But I think they're doing a very fine job here, as they must be coming down to about halfway through this race.
That's right, just passing one of our stations there. That's the Fawley station. We've got a time put up by the volunteers sitting in the box there with their digital numbering system, and we'll see what the gap between the crews is as they come through to the middle of the course, Remnant Club, which we were just looking at as the race was about to start. And
wow, and another record in this race, a record to the barrier of 1:49 set by this crew from the Edinburgh University and Nottingham Rowing Club, the British under-23 men's quadruple scull, who now have just over a length lead over Schuylkill Navy H.P.C from the USA. And we're hearing it's also a record to Fawley.
Yeah, that 3:04 is a blisteringly fast time, and I think, you know, they haven't been able to relax, have they, because the Navy crew have kept in contact with them, which means that they are pushing on. And as we said, it's not perfect conditions for record times at all, but it is a little bit of a tailwind and not too much stream, which does give you the opportunity to put your colours to the mast on your pace, and that's what these guys are doing in this composite Edinburgh University and Nottingham Rowing Club quad.
Yeah, I'm really shocked to have seen 2 records now in 2 consecutive races.
Maybe what's happening as we get into the evening is things are just settling down a little bit there. I think the crews were struggling a bit with swirly winds and more poppy water as there were many boats going up and down, and now I think this is the overhead shot that shows the composure and the speed and the flow. And let's just talk about that, how they make the boat flow. Watch the hands as they move forward. Still quite brisk. They're, you know, many strokes per minute, probably 34, 35 strokes a minute here in this quad, but just moving really smoothly.
But how good is that overhead shot? I mean, there is nowhere to hide when you get a shot like that, especially in the quad. Having those 8 blades so close together, I mean, you just see every angle or mistiming, and they look pretty sharp from above.
That's right. Well, our audience does love the shots from above, but perhaps some of the oarsmen might not do. I always hated being videoed, and you always kind of in your head think you're rowing perfectly, and of course there's always something you can do a little better. There's always something that you spot that you're not doing brilliantly, and these guys will always be looking at these kind of videos, and every athlete at this level always wants to improve and will look at every little thing that they can tighten up and get better.
Yeah, quite close to the booms here, the American crew from Navy H.P.C in the United States of America.
Yeah, they're strong. I mean, as we said, they're all from the Penn Athletic Club, and we can really see the determination on their faces to get as close as possible, hold the margin down as tightly as possible. And they're pretty fast crew. As we said, if, you know, the under-23s here have got 2 records down this course. These guys are not too far adrift on the far side of our picture, the Navy crew. Coming past the enclosure, you can hear the excitement of the crowd. Let's see whether we get to a record time at the finish. I'm not sure whether they've had a chance to ease back a little bit in preparation for tomorrow, this leading crew.
It looks like they may be taking their foot off the gas a little bit here. There's just not that pressure in the dying stages. If that other crew from Navy were perhaps a little bit closer, they're looking pretty relaxed as they come across the line here now.
Yeah, excellent demonstration sculling there from the leading quad, the British under-23 world champions, 3 of them.